Welcome to Sweethearts or Rivals. I'm Charlotte.
I'm Justin.
What are we going to be doing next weekend?
We are going to go to Halifax, the Boardroom Game Cafe, for a math trade.
Math trades.
Our first one.
Yep, we're pretty excited.
It's going to be interesting.
Yep, so we have a few games here that we're going to be putting in the math trades. So if they go, we're not going to be able to review them.
That's right.
So we just wanted to kind of, maybe there's something on the list that would interest you.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about them before we let them go off to their next grand adventure.
Yep, exactly. So, right on the top is
Verata.
Virata.
It's a good little card game.
Yep.
We ended up watching a review on it, and we're so excited about it. We found a cheap copy in Germany and got it shipped over.
Yeah.
But why are we trading it?
One of the reasons I wanted to get it was because of the choosing the roles and having hidden roles, which is kind of a really neat mechanic. The reason that we are not reviewing it and why we're kind of getting rid of it is simply because it requires a minimum of 3 players.
Right.
And we really need our games focused on 2 players. And it has to be good for 2 players.
Right.
And unfortunately, it doesn't cut it.
Right. So we have to...
Yep.
Even though we like it...
Yes.
We have to let it go on to its next grand adventure.
That's right. So, that's Verata.
The next one is Chronicle.
Chronicle.
Which is a trick-taking game with secret powers.
Yes.
And you know what? I like this game a lot.
I don't like trick-taking games.
I love trick-taking games.
At all.
I could play trick-taking games all day long.
I loathe trick-taking games. But the thing that was neat with this is it's not a trick-taking game where you got to get all the tricks. It's every round you flip over the chronicle for that hand, and it's during this chronicle, this is how you win. And it could be getting the most of a certain kind of trick, or cards in the tricks, getting the least amount, just not getting this card.
Yeah.
And it has this really cool special power fantasy.
Right, and each time you play a card, it's got a special power, so that happens.
Yeah. So it takes trick-taking and then just completely flips it around, where the trick-taking is just...
a secondary mechanism. Yeah.
And I also really enjoy this game. Yeah. And just like Virata, it requires a minimum of 3 players. And for some reason...
no one will play it with us.
Nobody wants to play it. So nobody will play it, and we need 3 players, and we can't get it, so it doesn't get out on the table.
At all.
Yeah.
We played it like only 2 times.
Yeah. It's a bummer. It was cool. So that's going to be shuffling off to find a better home.
Yep.
Where hopefully someone can enjoy it.
Yes. What's the next one?
The next one we have is Love Letter.
The L5R edition.
Yep. Love Letter, everyone loves Love Letter. Love Letter is like the biggest, awesomest game on the entire planet of this year, and there's like 15 million different kinds of versions
Not
and stuff
a million,
like that.
maybe 15, but not 15 million.
Yeah. We did manage to get the Legend of the 5 Rings edition because I am a huge L5R fan, and so we got it, and we played it. And how did you find it as a 2-player game?
I didn't have any fun with it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if I played it a lot of times and really got into it and found out why it was fun for so many people.
Yeah.
But the times I played it, I couldn't figure out why it was so fun.
Yeah. I didn't find it that engaging.
No.
Even for a quick little game?
No, sorry, Love Letter. It must be better with more than...
Maybe it's better as a non-2-player game, like 3 or 4.
Like how many does it play?
Plays up to 4.
Yeah.
But anytime we have like a bunch of people over to play, we want to get into some like really meaty, good games, having a lot of fun, not Love Letter. So it's not even something that people are coming over and like, hey, yeah, let's play that.
Yeah, because a lot of times when we have people over or we're going to their house, what do you want us to bring? So
yeah, it
never gets picked.
Yeah. So just not interesting enough for us to play enough to want to review, so we're going to shuffle that off to find a new home where someone can give that Love Letter the love
it deserves. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Next on the math trade, I was going to say chopping block, but that seems harsh.
That is harsh. We're not that kind of gamers.
No, not at all. Is going to be the Council of Verona. We actually traded games to get this.
We did.
And it has the Poison expansion.
Yes.
And it was just on tabletop.
Yep.
And people seem to really have a good time with it and enjoy it, but...
It's not a two-player game.
It's not at all. Two players, this just falls flat.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not engaging. It doesn't draw me in or anything. Again, it could be better with more than two.
It would be better with more than two.
But it falls into that same the same problem we have with Love Letter is people come over and they're not looking to play this little tiny game. They're looking to play bigger games, more involved games.
They're looking to play bigger games. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we had like a regular group of like 4 people that met
It's true.
all the time,
Yeah.
then I could see this being a great little filler.
Yeah.
But we just don't have that.
We don't have that kind of group dynamic. Yeah.
So that's a big thing, and I don't know if we can work that into our review or not, in our reviews, but one really important aspect of is this a game I should get is a lot of that depends on, you know, what your group dynamic, what your gaming dynamic, who you're playing with, how often you're playing with them.
Yeah.
Next in our group of getting rid of games is going to be Ultimate Werewolf Inquisition. And I saw a couple reviews on it and picked it up for a couple of reasons. One, it looked like a very different take on Werewolf.
Right.
With no player elimination.
Mm-hmm. Which I thought I would really like.
Yeah, that sounded really cool. And the other thing is this thing plays up to 12 people. And having some nice big game days with lots of people, I thought we need some big group games.
Yes.
So that's why we got it. And we've played it once.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time while we were playing it, people were like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right, and everyone was stone cold quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for a werewolf and those kinds of games to work, you need to have a lot of people accusing people of stuff and lying and bluffing and deceiving and everyone was just like, I don't get what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, it didn't end up being, you know.
Yeah. Maybe with a couple more plays, people will be like, now I get what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, but after that first play, they didn't want to try a second time.
No. So that's why we're getting rid of that one. Looks like it would be a great little game.
Yeah.
Just not for us. You go.
The next one on our list is Genji.
Genji!
Which is a really cool game about making poems for the princess.
Yeah. And it got a lot of really great Japanese style art. Really cool. You got a bottom part of the poem, a top part of the poem, and you're trying to mix them. You're trying to make sure everything's in season and stylish and really cool, neat little game.
Mm-hmm. And I like it.
Yeah. And it plays up to 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be a whole lot better playing it
at least with 3, 4.
Yeah.
4 for sure.
Yeah.
As a 2-player game,
again, it just kind of falls flat.
It's not good for 2.
Yeah. So, another reason why Genji's kind of going out with a lot of our games is as a 2-player game, it just doesn't engage me.
Right.
Yep. Genji gone. What's next on the table to be leaving us?
Smash Up.
Smash Up.
And we got that game because we saw it on tabletop and it looked awesome fun.
Yes.
It looked like awesome fun.
Yeah. Taking the 2 different factions and smashing them together to have a unique deck with unique abilities, and they play completely different from others. And I mean, the theme and everything with all the different factions is amazing. We bought 2 expansions for it.
Mm-hmm.
And how often do we actually get to play it?
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever. And there's a couple reasons for that. The first one is it's not very good as a 2-player game.
Right.
It's basically, I do that. Well, you do that. You do that. It's just back and forth. And you can either fight over one location, and it's a back and forth fight that never goes anywhere. Or you can start spreading it out, and then basically it's like, well, this is my home base, and I'll just, look at that, I scored it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not enough tension and infighting with a 2-player game.
Right.
And we've had people want to play this, and then want to stop playing it, because the other thing with Smash Up is, because there's so many cards that do so many things, there's a lot of text.
It's a text-heavy game.
And you have to understand what you're doing with all that text. And the whole gimmick of it being, 2 factions you smash together and then you're playing a completely different game means the amount of investment that you would have to
take to learn each faction is high.
So if you and your group are looking for one game that you can get into and play over and over and over again and enjoy it more and more every time you play it and not want to buy any other games, then I can see why Smash Up is so popular.
Yeah, it would be a great game.
Yeah.
For a group like that.
Yeah. But for us, it's not good as a 2-player game, and the rest of the group does not meet often enough to invest that much time into it.
Right.
And therefore it just becomes frustrating. Like, I don't know what this card does. What does this card do? What does this card do? I don't understand what this card does. And then it's just not fun.
Right.
So, Smash Up. Going on to Better Pastures.
Yeah.
With the 2 expansions. Next.
The next game is Time and Space.
Time and Space.
Which is a real-time game. And pickup and delivery resource management.
Yeah.
Sounded right up my alley.
And very unique.
Very unique.
And interesting, yeah.
Yep. And I thought I was going to love it to death.
Hmm.
So you can only play with 3 or 4 only.
Yeah.
So there's one issue.
Yeah.
And then the next issue, there seems to be a bit of negotiation in the game. Which, as a real-time game, to take the time out of trying to focus on what I need to be doing and then also add negotiation into it,
Yeah.
I found it really difficult.
Yeah, it's because we can't play 2 players, we can't invest the time to get into it. Whenever we've had more players, it ends up being 3. And I've actually stopped the game and it's like, okay, now let's just stop. And they're like, what? What do you mean, let's stop? And it's like, you 2 are like constantly negotiating and getting stuff, and I'm just sitting here watching you guys play the game.
Right.
So it's very bizarre. And we have some other games where there's a little bit of that real-time element, and it's frantic and fun. But in our other games, it's frantic and fun for about 30 seconds to a minute, not 30 minutes.
Right.
So the frantic and fun loses the fun when you go that long.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because that's another thing about the game. It only plays 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You put your timer on, and once 30 minutes is done, you count your points and see who wins.
Yeah. And I think we've managed to complete an entire game like maybe twice, and then nobody got any points because nobody actually completed enough of the game to score anything. So at that point I was like, is this like semi-cooperative?
Are we playing it wrong?
Yeah, like it's such a unique and interesting idea that does not work for us and our group on any level at all. Which is kind of too bad because it was such a cool little idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna need a group that is 4. You're gonna need a group of 4 that loves real-time frantic gameplay for a long period of time, that can negotiate while doing that and play in a semi-cooperative way. So if you've got a group that can combine those elements, this is the game that has been made specifically for your group.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's the best way I've heard that described ever.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Time and Space. Moving on to hopefully find that group.
That particular group, yeah. Our next one on the list is
Archipelago.
That is a big game.
Yes. This is a beast of a game.
It's a great game, actually.
Yeah, it is, actually.
Yep.
Yeah. The interesting thing with Archipelago is it is semi-cooperative, and it does semi-cooperative in this really, really amazing way. You are going out and discovering this archipelago of islands, and then you're investing in getting resources and then shipping them back to the home country. And while you're doing this, you have to constantly manage the local natives.
Yeah.
And if they get angry enough, there's an uprising and everyone loses. Mm-hmm. So every time there's like a risk of that uprising, everybody's got to pitch in and mitigate it. But which one of you is going to mitigate it the most and the least and come out on top? So there's ways of manipulating that whole situation so that you can actually benefit from it, and that's how it's semi-cooperative.
Yeah. Because
until that crisis happens, it's very cutthroat, and I'm gonna be the better person and get the most goods and be the better merchant, and so it does that semi-cooperative in a way that I find a lot of semi-cooperative games don't actually work out well.
Yeah.
So it does it really well.
And there's parts of the game that I really love, and then other parts of the game which are necessary to win the game aren't my favorite.
Yeah.
So it's like because I really love the market, how the market works in the game.
Yeah, the market's really cool.
How they use the mechanisms to manipulate the market is really awesome.
Yep.
And then I really like exploring the tiles.
Yeah, the tile exploration, the modular board, that's awesome.
And putting your meeples out on it to gather the resources and figuring out that puzzle.
Yep.
I really like that part of the game as well.
Yep.
But then, like you said, those current demands and future demands, and then your secret goals, and then how you win the game, it changes every time.
Yeah.
That's the meat of the game, and it's not my favorite part of the game. So that's...
There are these cards that give you special powers. Those are kind of cool. But every time you play the game, you flip open one objective that everybody knows. This is what will end the game, and this is how you'll get those points. And then every player gets one of their own. And so I've got this objective that I'm looking at. It's like, if this happens, it triggers the end of the game. And it triggers it for everyone, but nobody knows what it is. And then this is something I'm going to get points for. But everyone's going to get points for that. But only you know what it is. I actually don't like that at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like...
I totally agree with you.
Like, the whole, how you win the game isn't fun for me. So it's like, meh.
And the first time we played Archipelago, we played it for several hours. Because there's so many things you can do. And one of the crazy parts of the game is you can do all this stuff, and if all that stuff you're doing doesn't fall in line with the objectives, you won't get any points for it.
Yeah, we were playing it like a sandbox game.
Yeah.
And it's not.
And yeah, it has everything there that's available as a sandbox game, but isn't. So at the end of the game, it's like, look, I explored this entire section, and I've got so many pieces of iron and wood, and I cornered the market on it, and I've got 50 coins. And then Charlotte pulls out her objective. Yeah, but did you get pineapples? Because you get points for pineapples, and that's all you get points for in this particular edition of the game. And I'm like, I didn't get any pineapples, and she's like, that's right, I got all the pineapples. I win. And you're like, what? But I did all this cool stuff. Nope. So yeah, it sounds kind of interesting, the secret goals, and kind of deducing, Charlotte's getting a lot of pineapples. Maybe I should get pineapples, because maybe pineapples are
the way to go where it's at. Yeah.
It almost would have been better to retool it to take that out and make it a sandbox game. I don't know how you would do that, but there's so many cool things you can do in there.
Well, there's so many other games that are similar in different ways.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense, but I'm still going with what I said.
Yep.
That I'll just play those games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Archipelago, very interesting, unique game.
Yeah.
It has a couple of things that we just don't like.
Right.
Yeah. They don't hit it for us.
Right. And the next one, the last one, the biggest one.
Mage Knight. Boom. This is a beast of a game.
It is.
Yep.
It's actually a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
I really see the value and why it's a great game.
Yep. Friends of ours had this, and they invited us over one day to play, and they said, come on over, we'll play Mage Knight. We'll set aside a good 6 hours to play the introductory scenario. And we're like, what? 6 hours? Holy cow. Okay. And I had just, that day before we went over, had put a order for some games into an online gaming store that we really enjoy. And one of them was Darkest Night. And so I had ordered Darkest Night, and then we went over and played Mage Knight. And I immediately emailed the guy that I bought Darkest Night from. It's like, can I cancel Darkest Night and get Mage Knight? Because everything in Darkest Night could just be one scenario in Mage Knight. And thought, anyway, we ended up getting Mage Knight. What did you think of Mage Knight the first time you played it?
I thought it was awesome the first time I played it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in love with Mage Knight.
The card mechanism where you get a handful of cards and that's what you can do for that day, and puzzling out how to get where you need to go and the cards you need to make it so you can kill that creature, and that kind of puzzle was very, very cool, because it seems like it might be an Amerithrash game, but it's got some very heavy mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that combo blew my mind away. I was just like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second time I played it, I still liked it.
Yep. Still kind of good.
And then the third time, or the fourth time, and the fifth time, I felt like I was at my job working, trying to win the game.
Every time that I have done well at Mage Knight, it is because I've gotten advanced cards that help me move around the board. And that's it. I don't know if that's a fluke.
I don't know.
Or if it's a legitimate observation of how the game works, but I am like this godlike being, and yet I'm standing outside a castle and I'm like, I can't attack the castle because I don't have a card that lets me move one space.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some issues with the game that as you play it, it becomes less fun the more you play it. Or at least for us.
Unless you're the type of person that really wants to, like we said, invest the time to really investigate, how to make the game, like optimize the game for yourself. The more I played it, the less fun I had, so the less likely I am to try to invest the time to do that.
Yep.
So,
one of the things that helps keep the game amazing is to constantly keep in mind the scope of things you're doing, because you're this character with these godlike abilities. So when you move one space, you're not actually moving one space, you're moving across a vast forest.
Right.
When you kill that goblin token, well, you're not killing a goblin, you're killing an entire army of goblins single-handedly. And so when you first play it, everything's new and fresh and awesome and powerful, and you feel that scope. But the more you play it, the more that went away.
Well, the more we played it, we should say.
Yeah, the more we played it, we kind of lost that epic awesomeness that I felt from it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, yeah, it felt like I got a handful of cards that are all awesome, and I'm going to have to play most of them just to move one space. Well, that was a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it takes forever to play.
Yeah, it's a lot to set up, and it takes a long time to play, which sometimes we just don't have that time anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, for that reason, Mage Knight, excellent game, not for us. Moving on to find someone who loves getting into epic, long games, but are looking for an Amerithrash feel game with some really good mechanisms.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's going to be shuffling on. So those are the games that we're putting up for our first math trade ever, which we're really kind of excited for.
And all the games that we thought we should say something about before we might have to give them away.
Yep. The reason that we haven't really gone through and done like official video reviews for these is because, well, we do this for fun, and it would be a lot of work.
And also, a lot of the games on the list here are better with more than 2 players.
Yeah.
So for us to try to make an entertaining playthrough for you with a 3-player game with 2 people, it's not going to work.
Not going to work. We're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to enjoy it. So because we do this for fun, we're going to do stuff that we're going to have fun doing. So at least this way, before they're gone, we can kind of tell you why they came into our collection and why they're getting shuffled
why
out.
They're moving on to happier homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not that our home's not happy. I mean, a home that would be happy to have them.
There you go.
Right.
Another thing that was kind of interesting is just how when we got these games, they felt like they would fit with what we were looking for games.
Yeah.
And how over the year, our taste in games has changed a lot.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. At the beginning of the year, a game like Mage Knight and Archipelago, these really long, in-depth, intricate games with these really cool mechanisms and almost a sandbox feel to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I was looking for, what I wanted to play, and what I got excited about playing.
Right.
And over the year, we've started having really large gatherings with lots of people where you can't play a game like that because that would take up the entire party.
Right.
The other thing too is discovering a lot of more middleweight games like Vikings and Firenze, a lot of Stefan Feld's games where they're still intricate and engaging and involving.
And some are heavy mechanic-wise too, yeah.
But the gameplay doesn't take 6 hours.
Right.
It takes 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can get all that awesomeness and then move on to another game for even more awesomeness.
Right.
Yeah. And plus, again, if we're having a big party of people over, we can play that, finish it, everyone had a good time, and then we can split up and form some new groups and play some other games.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another thing is when you're watching reviews and trying to figure out what games to play, because they're expensive or to buy.
Yeah.
You want to look at not only what you're attracted to, but what's going to fit with your group. Because these are all great games.
Yes, and maybe we should start trying to work that into our reviews a little bit.
Maybe.
In our opinion, because I mean, we don't know what your group's like, but this is how our group is, and this is why it fits or it doesn't fit with our group.
Yeah.
So if your group has X or Y, maybe it would work better for your group.
Yeah. Maybe we'll work on that, and maybe this year we'll start working that in, because that's a big thing.
It is a big thing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You can get a game that, you watched all the reviews and agreed with all the opinions, and then get it and bring it to your group, and it can fall flat because it doesn't mix well with your group.
Right.
So yeah. That is something we're going to definitely look at. If you'd like to see us adjust our formats of our reviews a little bit and maybe add that in, not a whole lot, but a little
Just
add in
a
for
little,
a review.
a little 2 or 3 minute talk maybe about it.
Any ideas you have about how we would fit that in, what we would specifically focus on, let us know.
Yeah.
And we'll work on it. Cool.
Yeah.
So, I think that's it.
That's it for now.
Right on.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
See you next time.
Laters.
How many players does it say it plays to?
Up to 4.
I can't even read this. It
Yeah,
says
2 to 4.
Oh, 2 to 4.
Right there.
How can you read that? Holy smacks.
2 to 4 players.
Yeah.
Man, I think you need some glasses,
I
sweetie.
might need glasses.
Anyway, start that over.
Yeah.
Which is upside down. There we go. The Council of Verona.
Which
Nope,
is upside
now
down.
It's upside down. The Council of Verona.
Yeah.